Hey guys, just a bit of a Tokyo Olympics update for you. A couple of funny goings on there, a bit of shenanigans happening. A couple of days ago, 4 guys were arrested, 2 Americans and 2 Brits were arrested for cocaine use. Dear oh dear. So apparently they were out in Roppongi having a few drinks, and one of them decided he was going to break into the apartment next door to where they were staying or something. And dear oh dear, and an alarm went off, and short story is he got caught. Apparently the 4 guys are here working for an electrical company, and their job is to maintain generators. For some reason they needed to import people from other countries to maintain generators at the Olympic venues. Don't know why, some contract obviously that somebody's got for that. So they arrested this guy for breaking into an apartment, and then as a matter of course urine tested him and found he'd been using cocaine. So they said that's interesting, so they got hold of the other 3 guys that were drinking with this dude earlier in the night and urine tested them, and they'd been using cocaine as well. So you guys would already be aware drug laws in Japan are really strict, unless you're a celebrity, in which case they seem to be not so strict, but they are pretty strict. We would predict that because the world's media is watching this and covering this, if this had happened to one of us last year, probably would have just been quietly put in jail for a couple of years to think about what we'd done, and then we'd probably be deported to our home countries, probably. That's probably what would usually happen, but in this case the whole world's media is watching. They need to make examples of them, but they can't be too strict because it'll make them look too draconian. So we would guess probably what will happen is they might get a couple of weeks in jail and then be deported and probably banned from coming to Japan again. That's probably what they'll do, and as they would have a criminal record in Japan as a result of this, probably, assuming they're found guilty. Of course, we don't know they're guilty yet, but assuming they're found guilty, they'd automatically have a criminal record in Japan, which means their chances of coming back again would be 0. So that's probably what's going to happen. They caught the Beatles with drugs 40 years ago or 50 years ago and refused them entry, apparently. So it's sort of like that. It's high profile, so there might be a short prison sentence probably in a immigration detention center or something like that, away from normal criminals, and then probably deported because they know they're being watched. They've got to balance the fine line between making examples of them and not being seen to be too draconian. So we'd anticipate that, a couple of weeks of detention and then deported, never to come back again. Naughty boys. So yeah, Roppongi is sort of like it's a part of Tokyo. A lot of people love Roppongi. It's an interesting place, but it's sort of a bit of a naughty place, and it's also a bit of a ghetto, gaijin ghetto in some ways. You know, it really is. And then breaking into an apartment, what a stupid thing to do. Well, cocaine and alcohol probably caused that silly behaviour. So the government warned the company that they worked for that we better not have any more shenanigans from your staff. And that's really Japanese style too. In other countries they wouldn't even talk to the employer, but in Japan the employers are responsible for the behaviours of their staff, right? So they've talked to them. So it's a bit of a thing because as we predicted last year, maybe even 2 years ago when there was first talk about the Tokyo Olympics, we predicted that the Japanese style of expecting certain behaviours and people behaving that way just because they're expected to wouldn't work in the Olympics, and that's what's actually happening apparently. Because there's no law telling you have to wear a mask in Japan, apparently a lot of the people that are here, a lot of the foreigners that are here working for the Olympics or involved with the Olympics aren't wearing masks when they're being asked to, and they're going out drinking in Tokyo and having a wild time. Because you can imagine for a lot of these guys, you know, a lot of people that visit Japan short term, that's what they're here for. They're here for a good time. So that they're not listening to the rules. They're not going as far as taking cocaine and breaking into apartments, most of them, but but just going out nightclubbing and drinking and partying and not wearing masks and just being pretty wild. And because the Japanese people are objecting to that, saying why are these people not doing what they're supposed to do. So we've been predicting this. How long ago were the Tokyo Olympics announced? 4 or 5 years longer. We've been predicting this clash of cultures, that the way Japanese people behave when they're asked to. You know, usually with most of us, the countries we come from, if we're legally obliged to do something, most of us will do it. And if we're politely asked to do something, most of us will do it too. But there is this underlying thing that we have, if we have a legal right to do something else, then that's always an option for us, isn't it? Whereas Japanese people don't think like that. Japanese people are asked, please do this, they just do it, 99.9% of them. And so we predicted years ago that this would be an issue, and this won't be the last. This clash of cultures, I mean, the Olympics hasn't started yet. So we predicted years ago, and we're predicting it again now, that this clash of cultures, we're going to see more of this over the next few weeks, where Japanese people are saying, do this, do this. We went to that water park, you guys saw that video this week of us at the water park and the storm and stuff, and that was a classic. Everywhere in there, the Japanese people are being asked to do this and asked to do that with no rules, just being asked, and everybody just does it and conforms. And now please everyone come over here, and everyone come over here, and everyone come over here. When that storm hit, you know, come and do this, come and do this, come and do this. And at one stage they had everybody inside a big arena, and they said, please don't leave, please don't leave. And everyone just sat there, and after the storm had passed, the people were still sitting there. You know, and in another country, and a couple of them got up to actually leave, and the staff went, no, you can't leave. And I said to the Japanese people that we were with, in another country, those people wouldn't, because they don't have a legal right to stop people leaving, the people would just leave. You know, the storm's gone, they'd say, no, the storm's gone, I'm leaving, goodbye, and they'd walk out the door. But the Japanese people didn't. They came up and said, we want to go, and the staff said, no, you can't go, and they went, oh, okay, and went and sat back down again. So sort of what some people would be considered to be being detained, right? And so, you know, but Japanese people don't think like that. Oh, the rule is, or, you know, we have to wait here. And so everyone just sat there patiently waiting. And inside a building, incidentally, just a small point, there was water slides there for kids, for little kids, right? And they were inside. But because of the lightning, they'd shut the water slides outside. So they automatically told everybody they couldn't use the water slides inside either, that were just for little kids, little slides, little water slides. And so everyone's just sitting around, they can't use the water slides because there's lightning outside, right? And just irrational stuff like that. And the 6 million videos we've made about this sort of stuff, you know, we know what's going to happen when they try and tell people from other countries to do some bizarre thing, go over there and stand in that line and turn around 3 times and, you know, put this thing on your head and do this over here and do this over here. The things that they tell people to do here, and the people just say no. And when they do, the Japanese people won't know what to do. You know, and you can just imagine the scene in Tokyo where there's the foreigners out drinking and not wearing masks, and they're saying to them, please put your masks on, and they're saying no. And the Japanese staff wouldn't know what to do. You know. So we're going to see more and more and more of this. We might not see a lot more cocaine use, and we might not see many more break and enters, but over the next few weeks we're going to see some more clash of cultures for sure. And as we predicted years ago, the whole world's media are in Tokyo watching it. So every time something happens, it's going to get reported, it's going to get picked up. And even the media that aren't in Japan, the world's media is sort of watching Japan at the moment because of the Olympics and because of COVID and because of how badly COVID's been handled in Japan. Oh, incidentally, as we predicted recently too, don't want to keep saying I told you so, but told you so. As we predicted recently, they lifted the state of emergency when the athletes started arriving in Tokyo, and then as we predicted, the cases started to go up, the new cases of COVID started to go up again, so they've declared another state of emergency in Tokyo. And it's going to run till the end of August, which is the end of the Olympics. So then they had to follow up by saying, so that means that the events aren't going to have any spectators. So just imagine crossing the line running a race and crossing the line, yay, and winning a gold medal, and there's no one there clapping. Wouldn't it be amazing, just a silence? You know, yay, I won a gold medal, and just a silence. And then collecting your gold medal and going home wondering if the people who didn't turn up would have been faster than you. You know, it's just farcical. It really is farcical. But pretty good entertainment for the rest of us. Anyway, so that was it. That's the latest. The latest from Japan in relation to the Olympics and COVID and cocaine and other things. Dear oh dear. Anyway, there it was. More videos coming soon.